Elon Musk recently lost his cool about the Epstein documents, and his efforts to twist the story are only making things look worse. It all kicked off when Representative Summer Lee appeared on MSNBC to say that Elon would get a subpoena. The oversight group is demanding explanations. They're zeroing in on him. Right after that, Elon jumped into a wild overnight session of sharing posts. And his fresh take on those documents is striking. He says they're just a side issue that means nothing. This coming from the guy who said he fought more than anybody to get them out in the open. Let me point out what set off this outburst. I do have a question for you about one person who turned up in these papers. You probably recognize him. It's Elon Musk. Just going over a couple of emails from Elon Musk to Jeffrey Epstein back in 2013, keep in mind. So this happened after he was already found guilty as a sex offender. And after a lot had come out about the kind of guy he was and the awful stuff he'd been involved in, he's mentioning that it'll be him and Tallulah, who was his girlfriend at the time. What date is set for the craziest gathering on your island? Wondering to Jeffrey Epstein, like, when's the most intense event happening on Epstein's island? He added, we'll be around the British Virgin Islands and St. Bart's during the break. Any good moment to stop by? Jeffrey Epstein replies, pick any day from the 1st to the 8th. Just wing it if that works. There's always room for you. And also, Elon Musk apparently showed him around at SpaceX. When can Elon Musk connect with Jay at SpaceX? So it looks like the pair had maybe more interactions than people thought before. Look, here's my take. We on the oversight Democrats have held firm from the start that whoever it is, we need to make sure there's real responsibility, no matter if they're a Democrat or Republican or even a prince or a former leader. My concern is that when folks like Elon Musk or President Trump appear in these records, there's this total quiet. But when it's others, there's this hurry to claim, hey, we're warning you, this is tied to Democrats. That's what leads me to believe they're not being straight, that they're not truly committed to genuine responsibility and real openness. There ought to be a stronger effort to pull them in. The Republicans, when we received that subpoena in July, they were all about ensuring we also called in other individuals. They didn't call in Elon Musk. They haven't called in the president yet. And these are people we now see listed in the records. I'd like them to match that same drive so we can really dig into this. And I need to make this point crystal clear. There's no charge of bad behavior against Elon Musk. Being listed in the records doesn't mean you did anything wrong, especially not something illegal. But it's also true that folks can draw their own opinions about well-known people out there who, for example, in one situation, Larry Summers is looking for tips on dating a student from Jeffrey Epstein or setting up meetings with women or asking about the most extreme event on your island. Everyone gets to form judgments on that in any and every case. We label it guilt by connection now. I'm not someone pushing for guilt by connection, suggesting that we put out every last paper. Summer Lee laid it out plainly that Elon is set to be called in. The group wants details on his ties to Epstein. That news sparked a quick comeback. Elon used Saturday morning to post rapidly, standing up for himself and working to change how people see the records. Let me explain what these fresh documents really reveal, since they go against what Elon said before. Elon had earlier stated that Epstein kept pushing him to come to the island, but he turned down those offers. He's presented himself as a person who kept Epstein distant. The new documents paint another picture. Messages indicate Elon was almost pleading for a chance to go to Little St. James, which is Epstein's island, not saying no to invites, but chasing them. Elon also mentioned in 2020 that Epstein never got a look inside any of his SpaceX sites. The documents have message threads that seem to challenge that claim. It seems Elon himself asked Epstein to come see SpaceX in 2013. So we have clear mismatches between what Elon has said publicly and what the records actually lay out. His way of handling these disclosures has been a perfect example of dodging. To start, he shared, nobody fought more than I did to get the Epstein records out, and I'm pleased it's finally occurred. Then he owned up, I had hardly any exchanges with Epstein and said no to multiple invites to his island or rides on his Lolita Express, but I knew some message exchanges with him might get twisted. Then the change happened. By the close of his sharing burst, Elon stated, the real issue isn't putting out some batch of Epstein records, but going after those who did terrible acts with Epstein. When there's even one person taken in, some fairness will have started. If not, it's all for show, just a way to divert attention. Look at that closely. The person who took praise for urging the release of the records is now labeling those exact records as a diversion that's all for show. The records that capture his own mismatched words. The records that display him going after invites to the island. Those records are now suddenly a sidetrack. And his switch to calling for legal actions is just as telling. Elon claims those who did major wrongs with Epstein must face charges. But the Trump team, via Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, has already declared it's no offense to hang out with Epstein. So what's the deal? If there are offenses to chase, why isn't the Justice Department on it? If there aren't offenses to chase, why is Elon pushing for takedowns? He's aiming to cover both sides. The records are a diversion, but we also need legal actions. The legal actions count, but the records that could offer proof are all for show. It doesn't add up because it's not designed to add up. It's built to stir up doubt and point fingers elsewhere. Think about the sequence of Elon's links to Trump and the Epstein records. When Elon was clashing with Trump, he was setting himself up as a champion for complete revelation. Put it all out. Uncover everybody. Then he and Trump made up. The Defense Department brought back his deals. Huge sums for AI work went to his firms. All at once, he's in favor with the leadership again, and now the records are a diversion. Don't pay attention to what's in them. Pay attention to legal actions that the leadership has already said aren't coming. The shift is obvious. The reason is clear. Let me highlight something the press keeps doing that's important to note. Every time the Epstein records come up, anchors feel the need to mention that being named in the records doesn't always mean you broke laws. That's accurate in a technical sense. But saying it over and over has an effect. It downplays the importance of proven links to a guilty trafficker. What were all these rich, influential folks up to with Jeffrey Epstein, shooting hoops, learning crafts, enjoying casual meals? Epstein managed a criminal setup. The people around him weren't just running into him by chance. They had purposes for being there. The records capture those links. When the leadership says it's no offense to hang out with Epstein, they're turning a trafficking web into friendly meetups. When news personalities keep telling viewers that mentions in records aren't legal charges, they're joining in the same downplaying. The records are important because they show who linked up with Epstein, how much, and in what ways. That info matters even if it doesn't lead to charges, which takes us to the question of charges. Elon calls for takedowns. But who has really gone after anybody tied to Epstein? The Biden team charged and found Ghislaine Maxwell guilty. She's doing her sentence. That's the sole big charge that's taken place. What has the Trump team accomplished? They shifted Maxwell to nicer setup. They've declared it's no offense to hang out with Epstein. They've stopped open statements from the Clintons. They've downplayed the record's value whenever they can. If Elon seeks charges, he should aim that call at the leadership he sided with. They're the ones holding the power to charge. They're the ones opting not to. But naturally, Elon won't, since the call for charges isn't real. It's a way to sidestep. It's a method to claim the records don't count, only charges count, while aware that charges aren't on the way. The approach is plain. Call the records a diversion, call for charges that won't occur, and wish folks forget it. Here's what Elon's outburst shows about where things stand with the Epstein matter. First off, the records hold details that influential folks don't want examined. Elon's rushed reaction to Summer Lee's subpoena news shows that if nothing worrisome was in the records, there'd be no reason for an all-night sharing session. Second, the stories are falling apart. Elon's prior words have been challenged by solid proof. He said he turned down invites. The records indicate he pursued them. He said Epstein never saw inside SpaceX. Messages point to the opposite. When your open words clash with the written proof, you face a trust issue. Third, there's no single storyline now. Elon claims the records are a diversion. Trump claims Clinton needs checking. Todd Blanche claims nothing to charge. Comer stops open statements while saying he seeks openness. Each is working to protect themselves, and the tales don't match. Fourth, the call-in threat is genuine. Summer Lee and the oversight group are going after this. Elon's response shows he views that threat as serious. When Democrats hold the power to call in, they can force statements and record handovers. That's why Elon is attempting to brush off the records as all for show ahead of time. Here's what to keep an eye on in the next few weeks. Keep an eye on if the subpoena really goes out. If Summer Lee sticks to it, Elon will need to answer officially. His social media shares won't cut it. Keep an eye for further clashes between open words and released papers. If Elon's versions have been challenged, others probably have as well. The records touch on lots of folks. Keep an eye on the leadership's charge choices. Elon calls for takedowns. Will any happen? If none do, his call was just empty sidestepping. Keep an eye on Elon's ties to Trump. They're on the same side now, but both have records of dropping partners when it suits them. If Elon turns into a problem, Trump will pull away. Elon Musk shifted from calling for record releases to naming them a diversion. He shifted from saying he turned down Epstein's invites to getting challenged by his own messages. He shifted from setting himself as a responsibility champion to doing cleanup in the early hours. The outburst says it all. When influential folks rush around this openly, it's because they're concerned about what's on record. Summer Lee is pushing for explanations. The oversight group wants to understand what Elon's ties to Epstein really were. The records give proof that goes against his open words. No level of social media sharing alters those details. Sign up for this channel and tap the alert icon. We're following every disclosure, every clash, every try to twist the Epstein tale. Give this video a thumbs up. Leave a note with your view on Elon's outburst. Pass this along to anybody who figures the records mean nothing. Keep pushing, stay aware, and I'll catch you in the next one.